those of you who don't know me, my name's Rob, and I'm Neal's childhood friend, which means I have plenty of material to work with tonight for tonight's roast. Neal and I met playing rec basketball in elementary school, where my dad, Tom, was our head coach. Now, if anyone's interested in our third grade stats from the 7th place finishing team, don't worry, Neal had enough time at work this week to input the handwritten stats into an Excel spreadsheet. Just email babyshack@aol.com and Neal will get that information to you. Now, neither of us went pro in basketball, which could be due to several factors. One, our athleticism, which I highly doubt. Two, our coaching staff. Sorry, Dad. Three, it could have been that we put all of our energy into professional wrestling at the time. We may never know, chicken or the egg kind of scenario there. But at this point, we didn't go to the same school. Neal, in fact, went to a separate school until high school. But Neal's always a smart kid. I don't know how many people know this, but in 8th grade, Neal was almost the valedictorian of his class. He just missed out by one person. Before you think that's impressive, let me remind you that Neal's 8th grade class consisted of 2 people. Later, when Neal was deemed fit to enter society in high school, I got to know him really well, and we became really close. I learned that Neal was more mischievous than I'd ever imagined, and more importantly, he was the only one of my friends that could keep that from my parents, so solid friend to have. After high school, we went to rival colleges. I went to Bowling Green. Neal, of course, went to Toledo, which was awesome. They're only 10 miles apart, 20-minute drive. So it's actually the perfect pickup and drop-off location if I ever needed a ride home or back to school. Thanks for the rides. But over the years, we did visit each other, attend each other's college parties, and that's where I met a lot of Neal's college friends that are in attendance tonight. Ow! Now, if you're one of Neal's college friends and it looks like I don't recognize you, that's probably because we met at Jed's Bar, where they offered a special of $5 pitchers of Long Island iced tea. That is pitchers of Long Island iced tea. But I love meeting Neal's friends. They're always super fun. But my favorite thing about them is that they all had weird names. Neal was introducing me to people named Sauce, Grandpa, Monkey, and of course, Neal was known as Pretty Kitty. But I was always impressed with Neal in college because he was always focused on his academics, thinking about the future, planning towards his goals. So I was actually really impressed when he still found time to win some awards outside of his academics. Now, his most prestigious award, of course, is his drinking award that he won from his fraternity his senior year of college. And I knew Neal put a lot of time and effort into that award because years later when I lived with him, it was proudly displayed on our mantle. After Neal's college accolades, I was able to live in a couple different states across the U.S. and even was able to teach English in Barcelona. Neal visited me at almost every stop and was always a welcome visitor. Neal's always happy, laid back, excited for an adventure, and always outgoing. Together, we've explored cities such as Barcelona, San Francisco, Portland, and of course Paris, where much to the chagrin of my wife, she recently found out that Neal and I had a lock on the Lovelock Bridge. And that's why we know our love will never fade. Now, when Neal met Molly, I noticed these two were always off on awesome adventures together. They were at waterfalls in Croatia, hiking the Rocky Mountains, snowboarding in Utah, wine tasting in Italy. I'll admit I was shocked when I was not invited on any of these trips, Neal. Does the Lovelock Bridge mean anything to you? Now, I knew things were getting more serious when Neal was moving to Charlotte to be with Molly. Then later I heard they were moving to a lakefront property on Lake Norman, and I had to forgive Neal for not inviting me on any of those trips. He had a plan all along. But from visiting Neal and Molly in North Carolina, I got to know Molly a lot better. She was fun, adventurous, welcoming, and most importantly, she puts up with Neal, so solid quality to have. But I really knew Molly was the one for Neal when, after a drive from Charlotte back to Columbus, my wife asked Molly, "How was the trip?" Molly responded, "We listened to 6 straight hours of Blink-182. Now, if you're one of Neal's friends, he's attempted to make you listen to multiple hours of Blink-182. But I'm pretty sure Molly is the only one that's allowed it. But that's not what truly convinced me. What sealed the deal for me was finding out that Molly has an equal obsession with a different band called the Jonas Brothers. So after this speech tonight, I'm going to pass around a hat. If we could all pool money together, if we could listen to any other bands tonight, that would be fantastic. But in all seriousness, these two are perfect for each other. I'm so happy for them, and if we could all raise a glass and toast them to the bride and groom and wish them a lifetime of happiness together. Cheers.
Well said, Rob. Well said.